The drone's hum cut through the desert twilight. In a remote Iranian missile production site, workers on night shift moved components. The mission: to build enough firepower to rain down a wave of missiles that might overwhelm even Israel's layered air defense shield. In Tel Aviv, military planners are watching that possibility with growing concern. The Israel Defense Forces, long confident in their missile defense architecture, now face headwinds: attrition of interceptors, saturation threats, and the rising risk that Iran will turn its long-standing rhetoric into kinetic reality. The stage is being set for what some analysts call the next major dice roll in the Middle East. And the question behind every back-office briefing is, when will it happen, and can Israel afford to wait? Over the past weeks, Iran has quietly ramped up its missile production lines, a sign that its leadership may be preparing for confrontation. One security tracking report noted that Iran's factories are operating 24 hours a day, with the goal of launching up to 2,000 missiles in a single barrage. This isn't just bluster. Tehran appears to have learned from earlier conflicts that massing projectiles is one way to overwhelm defences. In the words of one regional analyst, Iran concluded it would need a large volume of missiles to overwhelm Israeli defences. The logic is clear: quantity can, under the right conditions, trump quality when defences are stretched. Tehran has long been restricted in the number and quality of its missiles, owing to sanctions and export controls. But now, thanks in part to improved supply chains and new partnerships, those constraints are loosening. A recent assessment flags fresh collaboration with Russia and China in air defense and missile technologies. As one brief put it, Iran's near-term strategy rebuilds its air defences and missile stockpiles with Russian and Chinese support. From Tehran's vantage point, this build-up serves at least two purposes. One, to deter Israel by creating credible strike options. Two, to prepare for a broader escalation by forcing Israel's defences into a race-against-time scenario. Israel has long relied on what it describes as a multi-layered missile defense umbrella: the short-range Iron Dome, the medium-range David Sling, and at the top tier, the Arrow family. Arrow 2/3, designed to intercept long-range ballistic missiles. Together, they have served Israel well in past conflicts. But the mathematics of defense are starting to change. In mid-2025, US officials and Israeli defense planners acknowledged that Israel is running low on its Arrow interceptors. One senior source told the Wall Street Journal Israel may only have 10 to 12 days' worth of Arrow and other air defense munitions left if the current rate of Iranian missile launches continues. Another widely shared report declared Israel is running critically low on key missile defense interceptors, particularly the Arrow system. That supply crunch forces hard choices: which incoming threat to engage, which to allow through. In effect, Israel may be moving from shoot everything to prioritize the highest risk. As one article put it, deciding which threats to intercept and which to allow through, heightening the risk of damage to urban population centers and strategic infrastructure. Further complicating the picture, Iran has publicly acknowledged that it still holds a stockpile of uranium enriched to around 60%, dangerously close to weapons grade, and experts worry that missile attacks could be paired with nuclear escalation scenarios. In short, Israel's air defense umbrella is under pressure at a time when Iran is raising the stakes. No serious assessment of the upcoming flashpoint between Iran and Israel is complete without the China-Russia axis. China, for its part, has long positioned itself as a global mediator, yet analysts say Beijing is deeply concerned about regional instability and the implications for global energy flows and supply chains. In recent calls with Russia's president, China's leader flagged the risk: if the Middle East is unstable, the world will not be at peace. Yet Beijing's actual support for Iran has remained cautious. A detailed report noted China refrained from offering material support despite condemning Israeli action, a sign that Beijing values economic stability above direct military involvement. Russia, meanwhile, has delivered advanced air defense systems and has been a willing partner of Iran's missile program. Reports suggest Iranian forces now operate Russian systems, use Russian training, logistics, and may be benefiting from transfers of components. In effect, Iran is drawing on a broader international network to enhance its strike capability and defense posture, and Israel must calibrate its own response accordingly. When a possible war trigger looms, timing is everything. On Iran's side, the logic is favorable. Its missile production is accelerating. Its strategic partnerships are strengthening. It may believe that Israel's interceptor inventory is nearing depletion. For Tehran, a window may be opening to try to reshape the balance of deterrence. On Israel's side, a delay could be dangerous. Every day the interceptors are fired, the stock is depleted. Every day Iran builds capacity. The longer Israel waits, the more risk accumulates that Iran will strike first, or that Iran will choose a time when Israel is less ready. Conflict analysts frequently warn that wars are rarely triggered by decision-makers alone. Rather, they erupt when deterrence fails, miscalculation occurs, or one side believes the time is right. In this geometry, Israel currently faces a narrower margin of error. One analyst warned the war between Iran and Israel is now only a matter of time. Should hostilities break out, here is how a likely scenario could unfold. Iran launches a mass missile barrage designed to saturate Israel's defense layers with perhaps hundreds or even thousands of missiles. The aim would be to force Israel to exhaust interceptors and leave gaps. Israeli civil defense and air raid shelter systems would come under strain. Already, northern Israeli cities like Haifa are reporting shortages of shelters as missile threats escalate. Israel would retaliate, likely targeting Iranian missile launchers, command and control hubs, and perhaps air defense batteries, possibly with US logistical support in the background. The region would rapidly escalate. Maritime waterways, oil infrastructure, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon could become rear fronts. Russia and China could play broker roles, but direct involvement remains limited. Either side could suffer mischance, missiles landing in unintended urban zones, civilian casualties, or escalation into nuclear or chemical scare. That scenario underlines the urgency. Once the fire bell rings, options narrow quickly. Some in Israel's security community argue that time is on Tehran's side and that Israel should strike sooner rather than later. Key reasons: interceptor, attrition. Every incoming missile requires a costly interceptor. With arrow stocks low, Israel can't afford to let time expend the margin. Missile buildup momentum. Iran isn't standing still. Every day they assemble more missiles, conceal more launchers, refine logistics. Delay favors the attacker. Deterrence, credibility. Israel's deterrence rests not just on capability, but on visible readiness. If Iran believes Israel is unwilling or unable to strike, the risk of preemptive Iranian action grows. Nevertheless, some Israeli strategists caution against launching too early, fearing the war could become protracted, bleed resources, or draw in US or regional actors in unpredictable ways. From Tehran's perspective, the gains of striking Israel are both political and strategic. Politically, it could demonstrate to the region that Iran has strength beyond its proxies, shifting the psychological balance in Tehran's favor. Strategically, an overwhelming missile barrage may create a window for Iran to push forward on other fronts: nuclear program, regional armed proxies, maritime pressure in the Gulf. But the risks are also large. Israel, backed by the US, retains superior air capability and intelligence. A failed Iranian strike could invite devastating retaliation. Iranian infrastructure is vulnerable. Launching from hidden launchers may delay detection, but once active, it exposes them. Escalation might draw in regional alliances. Turkey, Saudi Arabia, or Gulf states might act, complicating Tehran's calculus. Analysts say Iran's deterrence is being tested. If it fails to deliver a strike when its capabilities peak, its strategic leverage might fade. Global actors are scrambling behind the scenes. The US, Israel's principal supporter, is already augmenting missile defense logistics and accelerating production of interceptors, though its own commitments, Ukraine, limit flexibility. China has publicly called for de-escalation, warning if the Middle East is unstable, the world will not be at peace. Russia remains a key actor supplying systems or permissive export chains to Tehran, while also wary of a wide regional war that could distract from Ukraine or undermine its own leverage. Diplomatic tracks continue, but many see them as a hedge rather than a primary prevention mechanism. When military production calendars start intersecting with political decisions, diplomacy tends to slip behind. We may only have 10 to 12 days' worth of Arrow interceptors left if the current rate of Iranian missile launches continues, US official Wall Street Journal referencing Israel's interceptor stockpile. If the Middle East is unstable, the world will not be at peace. China's president speaking with Russia's leader in June 2025. Iran is not the party that seeks to manufacture another crisis, Iranian spokesperson referencing accusations of missile buildup. What we are witnessing is not simply the continuation of proxy conflict, it is a strategic threshold moment. Iran is assembling the tools, Israel is seeing cracks in the shield, and the international community is watching a high-stakes countdown. From Tehran's vantage point, the question isn't if, but when. From Tel Aviv's lens, the question is, can we afford to wait? Because every day of delay adds to the missile buildup. Every interceptor fired eats into resources, and every diplomatic track risks being overtaken by kinetic reality. For viewers around the world, the lesson is clear. The era of indirect proxies may be shifting into open confrontation. And for decision makers on both sides, the margin for miscalculation is thinning.